Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Kasperanza. In this video, I am going to talk about my thoughts on technology and artificial intelligence, since a lot of discussion has been taking place on the subject of artificial intelligence. And I'm also going to pair this up with the upcoming transit of Pluto entering Aquarius. And I hope this video appeals to both of my audiences. I feel like half of my subscribers subscribe to me for astrology, and I feel like the other half subscribe to me for philosophy and objectivism. And I hope both people will find this interesting. It's amazing how Pluto entering Aquarius fits the times so well. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Because it's not like Pluto is entering Virgo or Leo, it's entering Aquarius, which is the sign of technology and humanitarianism. And actually, before I begin, we should actually talk about this. We should talk about this symbol of Aquarius and Pluto as a planet. So Pluto represents transformation, death, rebirth, power, underlying things, hidden things, behind the scenes, things not out in the open, very intense feelings. So intense that they need to be uprooted, they need to be lifted up, can represent dead bodies, things underground, skeletons in the closet, literally and metaphorically. So it's things that are hidden that need to be lifted up to the surface to be exposed. And Aquarius represents humanity. It represents the collective. It represents the audience. So if you think about Leo, which is the opposing sign, Leo is the show. Leo is the stage. Leo is the leader. People in power. Aquarius represents the audience. It represents democracy. It represents the people that elect the leaders. It represents the mob, society. It also represents technology, the future, progress, progressivism, moving forward, electricity, science, scientists. When I think of famous Aquarians, two people come to mind. Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. Well, actually, that was Nikola Tesla, and Nikola Tesla was a cancer, but we'll just set that aside. Thomas Edison improved the light bulb, and he's associated with the light bulb. And it makes sense because he's an Aquarius. And then, of course, Ayn Rand is also an Aquarius who has a very humanitarian and uplifting philosophy. Even if you disagree with her, she is still very humanitarian. She's very forward thinking, very progressive, very much about progress. And it's interesting because in my last video, my second to last video, I talked about the book Anthem. Ayn Rand wrote the book Anthem, and not only does Anthem seem to criticize the collective and criticize the people who call themselves they and them, but Anthem seems to very much prefer technology. Like, it's very interesting how the main character invented electricity in Anthem, and everyone else tried to stop this character and punish this character for inventing electricity. So I feel like with Pluto entering Aquarius, we're going to get a lot of these same themes. And it's also interesting because I very much like Ayn Rand, and I very much believe in technology and progress, just as she does. But with AI technology, I'm actually really questioning if technology is actually a good thing, if innovation is actually good. One thing that I discovered or learned was that when electricity was invented, when light bulbs were invented, many people were against it. Many people fought back against light bulbs, which you think is crazy, right? You think like, oh my gosh, who would fight against light bulbs? But actually, you come to discover that light can actually be a bad thing. Like light bulbs can actually be not a good thing because, well, they keep you up at night. They make you work longer hours. When the light bulb was invented, I think I remember reading that people stayed up longer than they should. People started staying up longer. They started working longer hours because when the sun goes down in the past, you would just go to bed. There's no point in staying up. Of course, you could burn a candle, but it's not very effective. So you would just go to bed, start the next day. Your day would be more ordered and more organized. But with the light bulb, you could work longer. With the light bulb, it messed with human beings and their circadian rhythm. People got less sleep. So it could be argued that inventing the light bulb wasn't a good thing. And I feel like this is what Pluto and Aquarius will be about. It will be, because again, Pluto is power, death and rebirth and transformation, and Aquarius is society and technology. So a lot of our technologies are going to be questioned. They're going to change and transform, especially artificial intelligence. It's going to change the whole thing. It's going to be a revolution, probably. Because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, that's when the French Revolution happened. It's also when America was born. Technically, America arose in 1776 when Pluto was at the end of Capricorn, and then 2 years later it entered Aquarius. And of course, Pluto and Aquarius, a long time ago, it was like 1780 to, let me look it up. I'm so sorry. Oh, Jesus. So if we go back 300 years, Pluto entered Aquarius 1777. So literally 1 year after the birth of America. The French Revolution happened, I believe, in, let me look this up. French Revolution dates 1789 to 1799. So 1789, Pluto was smack dab in the middle of Aquarius, and 1799, that's about the time when Pluto left Aquarius, 1 year off. So I think that perhaps towards the end, so Pluto, in our time period, it will officially enter Aquarius in 2024 and leave Aquarius 2044. So we have Pluto in Aquarius for the next 20 years. For 2023, Pluto will enter Aquarius late this March. Let me look it up real quick. Pluto will enter Aquarius in 2023, March 23rd. So at the very end of March, Saturn will also move into Pisces, which is kind of interesting. But so the Industrial Revolution took place in well, let me look that up. Sorry, I probably should have prepared for this, but oh well. So the Industrial Revolution started in 1760 and finished in 1840. Again, Pluto was smack dab in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, or Pluto in Aquarius was in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. So you could say that our Industrial Revolution with AI, we're right in the middle of it since Pluto is in Aquarius. So a lot of technology will change. We could have a revolution. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we did have some kind of a revolution, because if you look at the top richest people in the world, they have literally hundreds of billions of dollars. There's a very crazy statistic that the top 1% of people own more than the bottom 3 billion people on the planet. And you can argue that, oh, this is a very socialist thing to say, and this is anti-capitalist. And honestly, I really don't think it's about capitalism versus socialism. I really think this is just the basic fact that one group of people owns way too much wealth, and so many people at the bottom own nothing. And there's something very wrong with that statistic. Something very, very wrong. It's anti-human. It's anti-humanitarian. It means the system is totally unlevel. Even if you're a capitalist, there's something just wrong with that. And so Aquarius being the humanitarian sign, it makes a lot of sense that if a change is going to happen, it should happen now. It's going to happen soon. And I don't know, maybe it won't happen. Astrology isn't the best tool for predicting things, but if I were to predict something similar to the French Revolution, I'd predict it like right now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, well, 20. Yeah, I'm going to go with 20. 20 years from now, that's the time when I would expect a French Revolution to happen if it was meant to happen. But I don't know. So, continuing on, technology. Is technology good or bad? Pluto in Aquarius is asking us to ask these questions. And I remember listening to the astrology podcast, and one of the members said, and it bothers me so much that I didn't see this myself because this is such a fascinating observation. But if you look at the natal chart of Mary Shelley, who wrote the novel Frankenstein, she has Pluto in Aquarius at like 27 degrees conjunct her MC. And the MC is what you're known for, kind of what made you famous, or what kind of influence you have, or your reputation. And the novel of Frankenstein, I actually have a video on this. If you want to hear my thoughts on the novel, you should check it out if you're interested. But essentially, the novel is about this crazy scientist, again, very Aquarian, this mad scientist, right? Because Aquarius represents like the basic scientist, very objective, cold, calculating, but also very progressive and forward thinking. But Pluto is very dark and kind of like evil. And so when Pluto comes into Aquarius, I think of the mad scientist. I think of the crazy scientist birthing a freakish monster with electricity and lightning. And that's exactly what the novel of Frankenstein is about. It started that whole trope, that mad scientist trope, because scientists are kind of mad. They're kind of crazy. Technology is crazy. Technology, like innovation, shakes things up. It throws people into chaos, and it's something you have to be very careful of. You have to be very careful with technology. And Mary Shelley talked all about this. She talked all about this idea of the evil of technology and what can happen. Essentially, you can create monstrosities with technology. When you innovate and pursue higher knowledge just for the sake of status and ambition and money and power, you create monsters. You create Frankenstein monsters. And a really good example of technology going too far is the atomic bomb, nuclear bombs. Because here's the thing with technology. Technology isn't really good or bad. It's kind of neutral. And it can be used for good or bad. It's kind of like a gun. It depends. Excuse me. It depends who has the gun. It depends who is using the technology and why they're using it. That's what's important. Because if really good people have technology, they can do incredibly good things with that technology. If evil people have technology, they can do very bad things with it. So, as far as I'm concerned, technology is neutral until someone starts using it. And people use technology all the time. And what's unfortunate is that I think most human beings these days are barbarians. They're childish. And I'm not saying this like I'm any better. Well, I'm kind of better than most people, I like to think, but most people don't. They're not equipped to use technology properly. They're not educated enough. They don't know with the dangers of using technology and using the internet. And again, with nuclear bombs, I'm kind of afraid with Pluto and Aquarius, and it makes sense because Pluto is fear. So I feel like a lot of people will be fearing technology. People will be afraid of what these new innovations could give rise to, and they should be, because if you're not self-aware and if you're not technologically aware, you can do very terrible things. So you have to be really careful with what you create. I actually think a really good video that we should all watch that you can find on YouTube, it's a lecture by Neil Postman. You know, he had a lot of criticisms against the use of technology. And when I watched this lecture, the most important thing that stood out to me is, why are we inventing this technology? Do we really need it? Because Neil Postman said that the point of technology is to solve problems, to create solutions. But if you don't know what those solutions are for the kind of problems that you want to solve, if you don't know what problems you want to solve, then maybe you shouldn't be creating technology. This is very different from the light bulb, where you can keep light on more. And who knows? He talked about being a Luddite, which is someone who is against the advancement or progression of technology. And there might be a good case for being a Luddite, because hopefully I'm saying that right, Luddite. Yeah. A very good case can be made against technology if you're not really solving an important problem. You could say that we never needed the light bulb. We should have just gone to bed when the sun went down. We would have gotten way better sleep. We wouldn't be working late into the night. I feel like it probably would have been better if we just didn't have a light bulb. Now, a lot of people will be like, okay, that's absurd. That's ridiculous. What are you talking about? Especially because the light bulb was going to be invented anyway. And I guess you could say that's the trouble with technology, is that even if you're against it, even if you want to put a stop to it, technology is going to keep moving forward anyway, especially if you live in a free country or if you want to live in a free country, because people are going to want to innovate and try new things. So I guess the solution is to be aware of technology and to prepare yourself for the inventions of technology, and to ask ourselves what kind of problems we actually want to solve. Because Neil Postman gave these funny examples of how when he went to buy a car, for example, he just wanted to buy a normal car, but the car salesman was like, no, you should buy this car with a window that rolls down automatically with a button. You don't need to roll it up or down manually with your hand, like you're winding it up. Back in those days when cars actually needed to wind up their windows. That's so funny. I mean, as someone who is a zillennial, I can't even imagine a car like that, or I just can't believe a car would be like that. But yeah, Neil Postman was just like, why do I need a car that rolls up automatically with a button when I can just wind it up? What's the big deal? This new and innovative car had all these extra features that were just unnecessary. It was solving problems that never needed to be solved. It was never really a problem to roll up the window with your hand. And it's the same with email and texting. It was never really a problem to talk to people face to face or on the telephone. Why do we need to email each other? And it's very interesting because if you listen to a lot of the criticisms of social media and the internet these days, the inventor of email actually started this idea of the notification symbol and hooking people with email, and how this guy wanted people to always check their emails, and that same principle was applied to all other aspects of social media. So people would keep checking their social media. And it's so crazy to imagine how Neil Postman, he didn't, I don't even know if he's even alive today, but I can almost, like, it's just amazing how, if you think it was bad that we have a button to roll up the window and we had email, and he was already criticizing that, think about what you would think today with our current environment with social media and how useless it is. I mean, if you really think about it, is Instagram and Facebook really that useful? YouTube is actually pretty good, but on Facebook especially, when you see people getting sucked into this kind of alternative life where they're trying to post pictures to impress other people, and they're enslaved to the notification button and the like button and the dopamine hits. What problem was social media trying to solve exactly? What problem were these people trying to fix? Or, to use very socialist and very like Noam Chomsky and some other guy who invented this idea of manufacturing desires, to use that kind of language, it feels like these people are inventing new problems. And Neil Postman made this really great observation, is that every time you create new technology, sure, you might solve problems in one area, but a whole new set of problems arises. And if you look at Instagram, for example, sure, we can send photos to each other to all over the world in less than a second. But what problems arose from that? Well, now young girls are killing themselves at astronomical rates than ever before because their self-esteem is being destroyed from Instagram. If you look at TikTok, you see people going insane. I mean, TikTok is just crippling Gen Z in a lot of ways. Or, I mean, I feel like that's a bit extreme, but it brings out a lot of crazy people. People who just look on TikTok and scroll on TikTok. It created so many more problems than it solved. What problem did TikTok solve? Your problem of not being entertained and stimulated 24/7, was that really a problem that needed to be solved? Or was that something that manufactured an unnecessary desire by hacking into your biology? So, again, I sound like such a socialist and such a Luddite and an anti-progressive, but I feel like we really need to answer these questions, and we really need to think about why we use technology and what kind of problems it's actually solving. And when I think about artificial intelligence, what problem is it trying to solve exactly? Like, seriously, what do we need artificial intelligence for, really? What do we need it for? And I guess you could make the argument, well, it just makes things faster and it's more efficient. Okay, that's great. I guess we all want things to be faster. But then the question that I have is, where are we going? Why do we need to go so fast? Because when I think about life and living and progress never ends. Life, I mean, there's not an end. There's no ultimate goal. So just because you go faster into the future, just because you progress faster, doesn't mean you're going to get any closer to a goal. All you're doing is changing the environment and creating new problems faster than solving problems. That's all, to me, that's all you're really doing. I really do feel like we're creating technology more than we need to. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of people say that, well, we need to create technology fast because then we need to fight climate change and there's a race to get to a certain goal or something. I don't know. I don't know. This is just all food for thought. These are just things that are interesting. But when I think about artificial intelligence, I don't think it's solved any problems. And the problems that it's going to solve doesn't look very good. I haven't really studied or looked into AI that much. I've just heard about it a lot in the news, but AI can write essays now. The essays aren't very good. Uh, the articles aren't very good, but I'm sure as things progress, it will start to get very good. But it is interesting how AI is very dependent on human knowledge that's already been said and created. So even if someone, like, I guess my argument against AI is that, well, you can use it, but you're essentially stealing and homogenizing and grouping together everything that's already been said before. So I feel like there's nothing truly original with AI. It'll just get better at putting things together that humans have already put together. Of course, perhaps maybe AI will be creative since it slaps so many different things together kind of randomly. Something truly novel and useful might come out of just throwing spaghetti at the wall. Something might actually be useful. But again, a human being wrote this stuff already, and a human being needs to verify this stuff. Like, AI can't just write essays and solve knowledge, like continue knowledge progress. Like, a human being needs to read these essays, needs to synthesize these things, needs to bring new ideas to the forefront. I feel like an AI can't do it all unless 100 years from now. Like, you could say the real next industrial revolution is when AI replaces human thinking, that humans don't even need to think anymore because AI will have already thought of it. Again, if why would you want an AI to write your own essay? What problem is it solving exactly? So you can write a fake book and sell it on Amazon? Well, that's not a problem that really needs to be solved. That just wastes everyone's time. Apparently there was like this AI thing, like deepfake, I guess, where apparently AI can generate porn based on celebrity faces, or I guess faces that are people's faces that are very much on the internet. So the AI can synthesize it and create like a porn video out of that person's face and create a convincing body to attach to that face. That's not a very good problem or solution. That's horrible. Not only is porn so addictive and so destructive to males especially, and to young people especially, and to the next coming generations, not only being able to summon porn like that is so destructive, but on top of that, to basically steal the identity, to steal someone's face. It's very interesting. I remember talking about in my my essay on Does It Pay to Be Evil, how the internet is kind of evil because everyone's anonymous and everyone's identity isn't verified. Everyone's just an avatar. Everyone's kind of this abstract, dehumanized entity participating in this complex game of symbols online. But when you look at deepfake and AI generated porn, it takes it a step further, where it almost steals the identity of someone or steals the reputation of someone and dehumanize it even more. So not only is this person's, so it's not just someone not showing their face, but it's their face being shown in a very dehumanized way, where they're in a porn video, where they're summoned at will on people's laptops. That to me is like a double form of evil. That is a problem not being solved. That is a problem that is being magnified. That I think that's disturbing to me. A lot of extremely lonely men who watch these Twitch streamers, or these cute girls who are gamer girls or whatever, or like Belle Delphine, like this parasocial relationship where there's this very fake sense of like having this alternative girlfriend that makes you feel like you're being cared about. But with AI technology and robots, it's like that's like on steroids now, because now you will have a robot that, or an AI generated symbol will actually make you feel like this is your real friend, and it will be a face that's attached with real meaning. It won't just be a randomly generated symbol. It won't be so distant. It will actually feel much more intimate, even though it's fake at the end. Like, I feel like we are stepping into a world that is really, really dangerous, and I'm afraid for the future. Like, we are planting the seeds for Frankenstein monsters, and I don't want to see these seeds grow. I don't want to look into the future. I'm afraid to look into the future. I'm afraid to see what I already feel like I can see. I also wanted to add quickly in the middle of this video, as I've been editing the audio, is that virtual realities are starting to become more of a thing. It's kind of interesting because when Jupiter entered Pisces, I think that's when we started to see a rise in AI generated art. But I think, well, I don't know, but artificial realities, made up realities, I don't know what the right word is, but you basically put on goggles and a virtual reality is created. I also am very scared about that, because I really do think the people's contact with reality is being severed, and technology is doing this so well. It's so good at distorting reality. It's so good at abstracting everything. It's so good at alienating everything. It's so good at representing things but not showing things as they are. Because if you put on these goggles, I imagine 10, 20 years in the future, everyone will be wearing goggles where we'll have this kind of Black Mirror, very dark world where everything will be quantified with numbers. We'll have these goggles that will analyze everything for us, and we'll have maps for everything. It will be like a hyper reality map put onto the actual map of reality, and this map of reality we'll be able to change the colors of it. We'll be able to like, our realities will be so controlled. And it's very interesting how Saturn is moving into Pisces the same time Pluto is entering Aquarius for 2023, because, well, if you think about Saturn is reality, Saturn is structure, Saturn is cold hard reality. It's the father, it's the authoritarian, it's the truth, you could say. Saturn is the truth. But with Saturn moving into Pisces, Pisces breaks everything down. Pisces is very spiritual. Pisces is universal. Pisces is artistic. It's mutable water. So it's like, it's floating like a fish. I think it's very interesting because Aquarius to me reminds me of aquarium, where there's a box of water and fish swim in it. And then Pisces is the very next sign after Aquarius, which is like the water itself, where there are no structures, where there are no layers, where there are no truths. Everything just gloops in and out of each other. Everything just it's mutable water. It's changeable water. And so when Saturn comes into Pisces, all of the structures, all of the barriers will be broken down. You could also say, since Saturn is structure and moving into Pisces, it's like Saturn is giving structure to things that didn't have structure. So it's like alternative realities that were just fantasies and were just games suddenly have structure, suddenly have a reality of their own. And I think that's so fascinating how in March, both of these planets are changing signs, right? Saturn is moving into Pisces, Pluto is moving into Aquarius. Saturn rules over Aquarius. So all of this Pluto and Aquarius energy, which is about transformation of technology, all of that is being channeled into Saturn, moving into Pisces. And Pisces is watering down Saturn, breaking down boundaries. So again, this only seems to reinforce everything that I've said already. And so yeah, just had to throw that in there. You know, setting aside Mary Shelley, there's also a kind of H.P. Lovecraft kind of vibe going here, where, you know, there's this quote at the very beginning of The Call of Cthulhu where, oh, it's such a beautiful quote. I wish I could, maybe I can Google it right now. Call of Cthulhu. Oh, yeah, this is such a great quote. I love this quote. I have to read it. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live in a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little, but some day the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from the revelation or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. So I get a lot of Anthem vibes by Ayn Rand with this, because I feel like human innovation and the progress of technology will very much make us so afraid that we will devolve into a collectivized barbarism to cut off technology altogether, because otherwise it will just be too awful. Like, yeah, because we will flee from the deadly light. We will flee from electricity. We will flee from the light bulb. We will flee, like Victor Frankenstein himself, from his own monster back into the safety of a new dark age. Back, right? He will retreat back into the common knowledge, back into a dark age, back into religion where we look up to God to save us. Because I think we are taking on something that is too far beyond us. Of course, I feel I sound very apocalyptic right now. I sound very like it's the end of the world, it's doom. And of course, we don't want to be too dramatic. But I think we should be careful. Like that porn thing, that is disturbing. That is disturbing to me. You're totally breaking and destroying how humans were supposed to perceive reality. It's so artificial and so symbolic and so, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, like, I feel like we'll start to see human cyborgs. I also feel like transgenderism plays a lot into this. Because of course transgenderism is very much in politics, but I also kind of think of transgenderism as a glorified cosmetic, because at the end of the day, it's just males who want to be females or look like females, and it's females who want to look like males. And there's nothing really wrong with that. I don't really care. Look however you want. I mean, when I really think about transgenderism, it's really not that big of a deal. Because when I think about the future, people will want to look like other animals. People will want to look like aliens. People will not just have sex with the same sex or with the opposite sex. People will be having sex with life forms that we probably don't even know yet. And so to me, I feel like transgenderism is very, very, this is child's play. It's not really that big of a deal. And so conservatives freaking out over this, well, you just wait until we get to the future, because I think things will be very different. Very, 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 very different. So, but I do think it's interesting because I feel like the problem with being transgender today is that we just don't have the technology yet. You're trying to cosmetically and like artificially change your body when we just don't have the technology yet. It's just not worth it. I don't think it's worth the surgeries. And this is just my opinion. You can do whatever you want, but I'm sure in like 100 years from now, the technology and the science will be a lot better. But I think it's very interesting with Pluto moving into Aquarius because we're seeing like a transphobic backlash, or at least in politics. I feel like there's a lot of talk. Like there's this really strong opposition to transgenderism from conservatives right now. And I think, and transphobia, right? Fear of trans, fear of change, basically, because trans at its root, it is change, right? Right? Like transformation, transition, transform. It just means change, the fear of change. And that makes a lot of sense because Pluto is fear and Aquarius is innovation. So, fear of innovation, fear of. And again, scientists to me, they're dressed in white. They're like mad scientists. And I do kind of sympathize with the conservative idea. When children are changing their gender, I find that to be pretty disturbing because honestly, if you are a kid, what the hell do you know about gender? Why do you want to change your gender? Why do you want to look like the opposite sex? I don't know why you need to go that far. I don't know why you can't be like Jeffree Star or something. You can have pink hair, you can have long pink hair, you can get painted nails, you can act feminine, but I don't know why you have to take such a far step because when you see, and I don't know, again, this could just be news because I don't know how many children are actually changing their gender, but when you see a lot of people getting hormones, when you see doctors doing these surgeries that to me are not perfected, they're far from perfect, they're far from actually doing what they're supposed to do. Um, it feels like transgender people are like Frankenstein monsters. I'm not saying that they actually are monsters. I just feel like they're being treated like monsters. I feel like the transgender experience is incredibly alienating. I feel like a lot of trans or non-binary people who call themselves it or they them is very dehumanizing, very right. The use of hormones and there's something kind of monstrous about the whole thing, right? Like if you're a trans person, you're a person of the future. When Jordan Peterson, calls these scientists or these doctors, these surgeon butchers, that sounds very much like Victor Frankenstein. It sounds very much like Pluto and Aquarius to me, because it feels like these people are more like projects rather than human beings. So just the idea of talking about trans people as a thing in politics, it's almost like we're talking about this group of people like there's something else, like there's something different, right? Like, anyway, that's just my little rant or tangent on trans people, which I feel like I should stop talking about because I feel like every time you talk about it, it creates divides. It divides people. It makes people upset and angry, which I feel like that's why it dominates politics, because politics is all about divide and conquer and fueling people's emotions. But anyway, anything else about the whole thing? Yeah, Pluto is entering. Well, of course we know Pluto is entering Aquarius. I don't know why I needed to say that, but is there anything else? Yeah, I think we really need to be. I think we need to innovate technology to solve a particular problem, and then also know that when we solve a problem with technology, new problems are going to arise. I think we need to keep that in mind. I don't think that just because we progress and move forward, that means things are getting better. I often think that we're replacing old problems with new problems. I think Neil Postman is certainly right about that. And I think everyone should watch that lecture, which I will link down below. What else? Aquarius also has a lot to do with society as a whole. And so with Pluto, well, I feel like I already said it, but society could change. We could have a revolution. There could be, I feel like with all of the data mining and how everyone uses the internet and everyone knows everyone about everything, like it's very interesting. Like Pluto and Aquarius reminds me a lot of like private information going public and public information going quiet. Right? There's a lot of people talking about conspiracy theories, but it fits very much with the theme of Aquarius because Pluto is all about things hidden beneath coming to the public because it's Aquarius, right? So occult knowledge becomes public. What's secret becomes public. I don't know, like the idea that spacecraft and UFOs are being released to the public. Like the government just says, yeah, there's UFOs, but we don't know anything about it. And they've been hiding this information, I guess. I don't know. But I feel like a lot of things related to that. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think that's a bunch of nonsense. But the idea of secret information becoming public, but also private information becoming public. So everyone's, right, what people do on the internet, people's identities, people's intimate parts being generated into porn, people's faces abused, people's identities abused, people's personal information being leaked and publicized will certainly be a theme. But also, public information will become private. There will be secrets of society, which again plays more into that conspiracy idea. Like there's secrets that are being hidden from the public, or there will be secret places, secret groups, secret organizations, that kind of thing. I feel like maybe hacking might become relevant. People, I don't know, technology could fail. Electricity might go or something. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm running out of content here, and I said everything that I needed to say. I'm sure there's so much more that can be said about Pluto and Aquarius, but it's very fascinating. When Pluto changes signs, it's always fascinating. And Pluto will be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. So we have 20 years of this fear of technology taking place, this Frankenstein monstrous energy. So also, I just wanted to add this for fun. There's 3 songs that come to mind when I think about Pluto and Aquarius. I feel like humans will start to be dehumanized in a lot of ways. Like humans will be replaced, either literally, like they will actually be replaced. They will turn into cyborgs. Carbon biology, skin and tissues will be replaced with metals, aesthetics, prosthetics, cosmetics, and other artificialities, superficialities, symbols, technology, whatever. So that's one aspect, but also humans will be replaced in occupations. So the first industrial revolution, machines and factories replaced human labor, or were very important for human labor. And then with AI technology, I feel like human thinking and the human mind will be replaced with technology, or will become essential for thinking as a human being. And, you know, when I think about Neuralink by Elon Musk or whatever, like, I feel like a lot of what is human will be questioned. A lot of what makes us human will be questioned, and things will start to really become postmodern when Pluto enters Aquarius. And a lot of that will be fought against, and there will be a lot of questioning and looking behind the scenes about what that actually means. What does it really mean to be human? We might actually find our true humanity, because a lot of the superficialities that are replaced with technology will, or a lot of what we thought was human, what we thought was truly human, won't be human anymore. Pluto will burn that and create something new from the ashes. What is truly human will arise, or the new human will arise from Pluto and Aquarius. And so, some songs that come to mind are Plastic Doll by Lady Gaga, Electric Barbarella by Duran Duran, and Face Shopping by Sophie. And then, of course, I think Barbie Girl by Aqua and Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson, those 5 songs, to me, have a strong Pluto and Aquarius theme or element. So if you got towards the end of the video, I'm very curious to hear if there's any songs related to being a robot, science and technology, something like that, like humans turning into robots. Uh, I'm sure there's other songs that I could think of, but yeah, just send me any songs or recommend me any songs that you know where humans turn to cyborgs or robots, because I really want to get into the Pluto and Aquarius energy. I really want to feel it. And yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening.